All right, all of you pottery expertanados or whatever you are, here is one of our projects that we make. It's called slab building. Mr. Jackson loves slab building. Apparently, I like boxes. Ask my wife. I have a lot of them at my house. I need to just recycle. But, anyways, what's so great about a box? Well, one day I was thinking about it. Boxes are like people. Sometimes you've got to open the box to see what's inside, right? This particular box has a face that kind of shows some of its stuff, right? But it's also the sun in these clouds, and it just changes with my mood, I guess, right? But this one also has a stand, so kind of has a lot going on. But the idea here was that, hey, I could make this sculpture that's kind of cool by itself, and this sculpture that's cool by itself. And if I put them together, they become better. So that was my artist idea there. And I did quite a few of those. I might try and get a slideshow together to show some more of them. But here's another one. This one's actually 3 boxes. Again, they kind of all look all right by themselves. But when you put them together, this negative space or this hole goes along with the other negative space and makes something. And then if I put that in there, these layers create a lot of interest and draw people in. So, anyways, there are a couple of my boxes that I made in college. Now we're going to learn how to make them. All right. So the first thing we need to know is what do we make them with? And we're going to make them with what's called slabs. There is a video on how to use the slab roller if you weren't here during the demo. If somehow I didn't show you the demo, just ask me. I will show you how to do it and make sure you don't break my machine, all right? But here's a couple of templates, all right? I need you guys to pay attention to the shape of these things. These are the walls of the box. And if you look, there's walls that are longer and then 2 short ones that go in between it. You could also do them all the same and then just stagger them and have this one go past instead of stopping right there. That one goes to there, and that one goes to there, and that one goes to there. And you'd have 4 equal sides, okay? There's another way you can do it where you can do the same thing here, and instead of extending it or having it in between, you can just bevel your edge and do it on an angle, kind of like a picture frame. So those are some things that you need to be aware of, because if you make your slabs different sizes and stuff like that, your box will be kind of wonky, which isn't the end of the world, but that is one of the cool things about slab building is that it can be very precise. All right. Here's another template. This one, you don't actually cut a whole bunch of pieces. You cut a big piece, cut out the corners, and then you connect the sides. It's a very simple box. If you're going to do it, though, remember to make it into art and not just a simple box, right? In fact, all of our boxes should have some sculpting or something to make them worth our time. All right. All right. Some things that you need. You need what's called slip. If you haven't seen this yet, it's just gooey clay. A little bit of water wouldn't hurt. I don't have any here, or do I? I might. I have a squirt bottle. Never hurts to have water to smooth things out, but I'm just going to use the squirt bottle if I need it. No need making a mess. We also need some pieces. So I've rolled out a slab and I pre-cut these pieces so I can just put them together. Right now, they're probably still kind of flexible, all right, because I haven't let them dry overnight like I usually do. But if I let these dry overnight in a bag, especially on this board, it would suck out the moisture and these things would be very rigid, or what we call leather hard. Right now they're okay. They're not like really wobbly, and I think they're going to do just fine for my demo. But if you were trying for very precise things, you would want to let them dry a little bit more so you can get these nice straight edges like I have on these boxes. All right. If you let it dry too much, like if it's bone dry or close to it, these will not hook together. Okay. So just remember that. This box is a little big for making it this tall, but I think I'll be all right because I'm an expert, of course. But if you guys are making a smaller box, it's not going to wobble like that as much. Okay. Now, every time I pick this up, I'm actually stretching this clay. I need to be very careful with that. Okay. So we got 4 sides. I've got a bottom, probably a top, and then these other pieces are going to talk about here in a second. All right. So I'll put these off to the side, and I'm going to bring one of my pieces over. I pre-cut these and made them, instantly the size that I wanted. They're all about the same size, but I'm looking at them and they're a little off. We can still adjust as we build. All right. So we've got the slip, and we also need a tool like this, or just something. I may have showed you a video where she had this little scraper tool with a whole bunch of lines in it. A fork would work. But when the clay dries, there's not as much moisture in the clay, and clay that doesn't have moisture in it does not stick together. So that is a problem. Now, when I was in college, this is the only tool I used. I created a tool that was kind of like a mixture of these. I had a 3-prong one because I made a lot of these boxes. But anyways, let's get started. I might speed this video up for you people that are already bored with my rambling on. But one thing that I like to do is, recently I've realized that if I stack all these boxes together, or these pieces, all right, I'm going to do one first. I'll show you. I need to do what's called score the sides. So I'm going to score this side. If this was leather hard or drier clay, and this is dry, it's not going to stick very well anyways, but the idea, if it's leather hard, it's losing moisture. So if I put lines in it and then I put moisture into it, then it's going to hydrate, into the clay a little ways, and this area will stay hydrated where this side will stay rigid and hold its shape. So that's our idea. All right. Now I need to score that side. I need to score the bottom, and this side is going to connect to this side with those other pieces. So I need to score right here on all of my pieces. So to save myself some time, I realized that I could take my pieces and score all of these at the same time on the side here. And I could also do the bottom at the same time. So that saves me a whole bunch of time. These pieces kind of hold their shape. The only thing that I can't do at the same time is this piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do those really quick. Just realized that I didn't bring some clay that I needed to bring, but I might have some close by. You can see this doesn't take very long, especially with that fancy tool. Please don't ruin them. They're not like indestructible, okay? If you see somebody ruining my tools, let me know. But this is how I did it in college. I just used a needle tool, and I went down a few times, maybe crisscross it a little bit, but there we go. All right. Okay, so this side here is going to go on to that side. So we just need to make sure that we don't get our bottoms top to bottom or whatever. So that's going to go on right there. So what I'm going to do is get some slip. If you don't like to touch the slip, which I don't understand why, it's just paste, right? Your hands are already dirty. So my pottery professor said that our fingers were our best tools, and he's pretty much right. But there are a lot of tools, especially if you don't want to touch it, but all right. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and I'm not going to just set it there. I'm going to kind of work it back and forth. That already stuck, but I want to make it nice and even with the edge. So there we go. And you should see some of that slip squish out. Okay, now you'll notice I'm on the fabric, so it's not sticking. If it's sticking to whatever you're working on, like if I was on the board or something like that, you would want to maybe put a piece of paper underneath, all right? So you'll notice this inside, it's got some slip on it. I could get a tool and smooth that out, and it would probably hold, especially if it's a small box. But if you want to make sure it holds, okay, so that means do this. Go ahead and get you some clay and roll it out. Okay, it should be pretty gooey clay, not super wet, but it should be pliable and not cracking. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there with that slip inside by it, and just use my fingers to squish that into the corner. If anybody that welds or something like this kind of looks like welding. So now I've got a really strong corner. Okay. All right, so now I can cut off my piece right there, and I can go to my next side. And again, if these were a little drier, they wouldn't wobble so much, but not the end of the world. Okay, so put some more slip on here. I'm going to be quiet right now. All right, so there you go. I've got my 4 sides hooked on. I've reinforced the inside. Those 2 last ones were a little harder to get in, so I didn't get a whole coil all the way. Not the end of the world. They're still reinforced, so they're going to be pretty sturdy. If you can reach in there and get them, by all means do it, but at least get the top end and the bottom end, and you'll be fine. All right. Now, my bottom is a little bit uneven, so I'm going to trim off some things, rescore it a little bit. Maybe I'll try this where I tap it down a little bit. It's not going to be easy to see, so if I smash that down and don't get a lot of wrinkles, at least it's flat. Okay, so now I can take my bottom piece. Now, this is a piece of clay that's the same thickness or width as my side pieces. And now, if you look at it, that will not cover the bottom. So you'll have to remember to make it at least one more thickness on all sides. And I've done that over here. So now you can see that that's pretty much the exact same size. So when I was cutting out these pieces, I cut out these pieces a double thickness of the side panels right there. All right. So that's going to fit pretty good. I did see this. Look at this. I like this. If I could hook this on like that and then put this one on, I've just made kind of a cool design. If you like, I don't know. I think there's some potential there, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. So we've got our score marks on the box already. We need to score right here now around the outside of this. Again, this would be more sturdy or more leather hard, okay? On this one, I'm going to put a ton of slip just because I'm not going to be able to reinforce it as well. Like I've done it if I have small enough boxes that I can reach down in there, sure, we can reinforce that. But I'm just going to put as much as I can on here, put some on here so that it's also hydrated. And we're just going to put that on there, kind of sink it on, clean up these edges a little bit. Twist it around a little bit till it's like all of a sudden it stopped wiggling very much, right? I'm sure. Of course, as soon as I say that it's doing that, it moved, okay? But now I can just kind of pound that into it, fix my sides if they're getting wrinkly. And there's my basic box, okay? Now inside there's some sludge. There is no reason you can't get a tool that's long enough to fit down in there. Of course, I didn't bring one, but like these needle tools, the end of them is round. I could clean that up and make it look a little nicer down in the bottom there. You can do that even up until you cook it. Okay, so there's my basic box. I've got some things happening right here. If it caves in like that, get a tool and push it out from the inside and flatten it out. But that is not doing it. That's the problem with not letting the clay dry out more before I started. Okay, now another thing you can do is make a lid. If you just make a lid with this right here, I'm going to use this as my example piece, but if I put my lid on here and that's all I do, and I'm walking along, oh, it fell off. Why did it fall off? Oh, because there's nothing holding it on. So I want to do something to keep this lid from coming off. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece, my example piece. I'm going to clean up these corners at the top here so that it's kind of square. Then I'm going to put this in there and mark it where I want to cut it off. Okay. Now, I did not bring my ruler with me, but any straight edge will work. So here is, actually this cardboard is exactly the same shape that I want. So I'm going to cut that off. You could even do that with cardboard or paper. Check it with that instead of just cutting the thing, but there we go. That should fit inside now. So if I put this here, make sure it kind of fits. Okay, now I can put this on here. I'm going to put that right on there. There's some wrinkles on this one, so I'm going to use the flat side, and I'm going to put it against the flat side. I should score this a little bit here in the middle, obviously, especially if it's drier clay. Same here. And then I'm going to put my slip on. And I'm going to put a lot on. This slip will help you not get air bubbles, all right? But if you put it down and kind of roll it down, so from one side to the other and push on it as you go, you shouldn't catch any air in the middle, okay? So there we go. You can see I have a lot of slip squishing out. Probably want to clean that up before you try putting it on your box, or else it's going to stick to it. And then carefully try it out. Seems to be fitting all right. Okay, now that is a basic box. So there you go. That's a C project. If you guys make me one of these, I'll probably give you a C, unless you do some decorating or something, right? All right, now, some other things you can do is decorate the top. You can put handles and stuff on there. Again, make sure that you slip them really well so they stay on. Don't play with them too much, but that would be a pretty cool lid, right? Okay. Also, I was playing around with pieces back there, and you remember one of the panel side things that we showed you had beveled edges. So to bevel an edge, instead of being straight, I'm going to kind of carve it. I think I'm going to use an X-Acto knife for this. I'm just going to kind of do an angle cut right there and right here. I could have taken a lot more time on those, but I know you guys are like, oh, when is he going to be done? Mr. Jackson just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then he talks about going on and on and on and on. And it's terrible. Okay. All right. So I beveled my edges. with these 3 triangles. Putting some slip on them. Obviously, I probably should have scored them. I didn't, but because this is a decoration, so it's not going to be putting a lot of stress on it. But there we go. Now I have this little pyramid thing happening. There's probably other ways to make a pyramid like this, but for this demo, I thought that would be a fun thing to show you. So now I could put this on top of my box. If I was going to put this up here somehow and there was an air pocket in there, I could poke a hole from the bottom up. I could poke a hole in the sides here, make some little windows or something like that. And then there you go. I have a decoration, right? I actually was playing around with that as a bottom, but I don't know how that would hold. Especially, it would be fragile until it dried. Okay. All right, let me show you a fun thing you can do. Let's imagine we don't have this lid and we want another lid. So here's another way to make lids. You can do some cuts like this. I'm going to try the X-Acto knife. I've always used needle tools, but then I started using X-Acto knives. And look at that cut. That's a nice cut. Just don't cut yourself. The problem with the needle tool is it's thicker and it's noticeable. And this X-Acto knife is pretty thin. Okay, now by doing this zigzaggy pattern thing here, I've made it so I should be able to take off my top, okay? And because they're zigzaggy, as long as I put it on the right way, it's never going to fall off, right? So I obviously want to clean up these edges, get rid of some of these boogers, make it fit pretty good, but there's a fun kind of a lid, and there's tons of variations. It doesn't have to be zigzags. It could be just one little U shape in all the sides or something, but kind of fun, right? So there you have it. There's slab building, and that's a 25-minute video with a lot of monologuing. So if you want to watch it without the audio, probably get as much information as with it, but some of you guys might want some more information. So obviously we'd clean up, close up our slip cover so we don't dry out, go wash our hands. But I like slab building because that's about as messy as I get with slab building. And not that I'm afraid of messes, but I don't know. It's just relaxing. So there you go. All my pottery fanciers, or whatever you want to call yourselves, we've just learned how to make a slab box. Okay.